Hello and welcome to my Succ Musa guide update for the 531 PC patch. In this video, I will be covering all relevant Succ Musa changes and the impact that each change made to the class. With that, there are 4 large changes to discuss. The stamina cost reduction of our blue buff from 100 to 75, a self-explanatory change that just extends the time Succ Musas can grind by roughly 15 to 20%. The blooming animation change, allowing for blooming to be cancelled much faster than previously possible. Gale can be used after Blaze much quicker now, giving a slight buff to our trading capabilities. And last, the Prime Divider animation change, which locks us into both hits of Divider. Even though they're sped up, I would consider this a nerf, as Prime Divider was mostly used as a quick CC after Gale to cancel the animation of Gale and make it act as kind of an almost protected float due to speed. With that, we will cover all these changes and the impact I believe that they made to both PvE and PvP. To start with how to process the changes, I will first discuss Prime Divider. I believe this skill is in a much worse state than previously, and after the change, I believe is better replaced by Absolute Divider for many reasons. While you lose the DP shred and the float on Prime Divider, being able to continue to cancel Gale quickly for movement is a very important part of the kit, and since Absolute Divider has 0 cooldown, while Prime Divider has a 4-second cooldown, Absolute Divider gives you an amazing tool to give yourself blue buff and still pull off the quick combos that you were already doing. Additionally, using Absolute Divider gives Succ Musa the ability to dash cancel during Tiger Blade, which is a nice addition to our kit. Consider if you were using Divider previously as your re-CC ability during combos, just use Blind Slash instead. Blooming received the largest buff of all. The animation speed increase is a very welcome change, cancelling it with many other abilities like Gale, Cyclone Slash, Backstep Slash, Rising Storm. Gives you the ability to use this in PvP much easier now. While it's still unprotected, the gap is very small and the damage is all front-loaded now, making it an insane burst damage ability that increases our damage even higher. Blooming in PvE is much better now too. Where it was considered poor use to use blue buff on blooming before, it is now on par with Gale and situationally might even be better to use depending on the type of mob that you're fighting. For add-ons, blooming is still currently bugged and doesn't give add-ons at max range, but consider the fact that if you're using the new blooming a lot, it may now be a viable option. Just remain conscious of the range issue and you'll be fine. Whatever you do decide, while making your add-ons, be sure to remember that Carver Typhoon does apply Cyclone Slash add-ons, making your Carver every 8 seconds double the add-ons even if you're not flowing into Cyclone Slash. On screen are my add-ons, but I recommend you put your own spin onto it as it's going to be very dependent on playstyle and gear. People ask for add-ons a lot, but for example, I don't use reduction of accuracy or plus evasion add-ons as I'm not an evasion player, so put your own spin on what you need. Our overall PvE update, if you were doing the Musa Gale combos before, you're going to notice almost no change in your ability to grind. I believe the Rising Storm damage increase off of cooldown and the blooming animation speed was a slight bump, depending on where you grind, but my trash per hour at Gaifin was almost unchanged. I was grinding 13k yellow at 293 Kudum prior to the change, with the occasional 14k if I get lucky with the spares and butchers, and I pulled roughly the same amount after the patch. I think the Rising Storm damage change was probably the most impactful, as I spammed that ability waiting for the next statue to kill just to kill the despair mobs. This was a bit disappointing due to the fact that we were given a damage increase on Gale in the patch, but from all my testing, I can't notice it. My only speculation is that the damage buff we received was only while it was off cooldown, and using blue buff to use it on cooldown was probably the same damage as it did previously, but that's just a guess. For PvP, the new Divider does hurt. You lost a quick CC to throw out after Gale, and you now have to supplement that with either no CC or a larger gap. However, using Blooming into Gale or Rising Storm Blaze into Gale faster now are very positive buffs for our ability to trade and combo while in large scale. With these new flows, however, you do need to be mindful that you are using 2 blue buff consumption abilities together. If you don't have both skills off of cooldown or one skill off cooldown and a blue buff before you attempt it, it will fail. Not a big deal, but just pay attention to your cooldowns and you'll be fine. My last PvP recommendation is don't just spam blooming. It's still unprotected. While it's a ton of damage, without the matchup knowledge, using this skill will just get you caught. You're going to see tons of clips of people YOLO blooming and getting huge feeds, but you're not seeing the 100 times that it didn't work or the hundreds of hours that they spent learning the matchups and figuring out when it's even possible. So that wraps up all the necessary changes for the 531 PC patch. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on the Discord or just comment below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.